I want to talk about the 4 Western qualifying rounds as well before talking about what I think is going to happen in round 1. I don't know if I'm going to completely break down my predictions here because, again, it does reseed all the way through. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I did make a prediction video where I said I thought Boston would win. Controversial, perhaps, at this point, but I said the Bruins would win at the start of the season. They did win the President's Trophy. But before I get to that, I want to start at the bottom here. Calgary beating Winnipeg. This is the series that I find perhaps the least interesting. I have to be honest. For Winnipeg, I really did like the Jets. You know, unfortunately with the injuries and the whole Tkachuk-Scheifele thing, I'll say this. Matthew Tkachuk, intentional in terms of the almost Erik Karlsson-esque stomp on Scheifele? Probably not. Still at fault for it, though. You can blame the ice conditions if you want, but obviously that heavily affected the Jets in this series. It's a very weird season for Winnipeg in general, because obviously, you know, you start off the year with finding out, oh, Dustin Byfuglien's not playing. And then Brian Little gets hurt. And sure, you have Connor Hellebuyck playing at an unbelievable level, wasn't as good in the playoffs, but Connor Hellebuyck had a fantastic regular season. But at the end of the day, you know, you lose Scheifele, you don't have Little, Patrick Laine is not at 100%. This team doesn't have the depth to really make it to that next step. You know, some good young players, Jansen Harkins finally, you know, starting to show up. You still have guys like Roslovic, Appleton. Obviously for Winnipeg, you know, you lose Myers, you lose Trouba, you lose Byfuglien. How the hell are you going to survive that? And ultimately they couldn't. But the pieces are still there where things can work out for them. I mean, you get that ridiculous Dmitry Kulikov contract coming off the books. Morrissey already signed his extension, which is huge. You got one more year of Pionk at decent money, which he had a pretty damn good season, as well. You got Dylan DeMello for absolutely nothing. He's probably going to be making like $2 million next year. It's not a horrible situation for Winnipeg to be in right now. It's just the injuries added up, and the roster's just a little bit too thin and inexperienced based off of who they happen to lose. But even if you look at the prospects, I mean, if Christian Vesalainen steps up and starts to push, you know, things could work out there. Defensively, obviously, Ville Heinola played a little bit at the start of the season. It's not the worst situation in the world for Winnipeg. That's really all I can say. No one's surprised that the Jets didn't make a run to the Stanley Cup final this season. But obviously, it might be a little bit disappointing for them to not make the playoffs as the 9 seed. But I don't hate where they are. For the Calgary Flames, I mean, playing Dallas in the first round, I have to be completely honest with you, I have no confidence whatsoever in the Calgary Flames. I just don't. Beating that Winnipeg team proves nothing to me. We still need to see what Johnny Gaudreau is going to do, someone who has been really a perennial playoff choker since he has been in Calgary. He had that first really good start upon signing, his first full season in Calgary. 2 points in 4 games, 1 point in 5, 3 points in 4 games so far. He's looking good. Can he keep that up? Yeah, I think Calgary's kind of in that situation where it's like, okay, we kept being told for quite a few years now, watch out for the Flames, watch out for the Flames, and they just haven't found that playoff success. This might be the year with all the silly season kind of nonsense going around that is 2020 for them to take that step up, but I just don't know. I personally don't have confidence in them yet. You haven't earned my trust to be able to sit here and say, I believe the Calgary Flames can win the Stanley Cup this year. Do they have the ability to do so? Potentially. I mean, you can look at the forward core and say it gets to be a little bit thin in the bottom 6, and obviously a roster in 2020 that has Milan Lucic and Zach Ronaldo, you're just like, I don't know about that one. But, you still look at this defense. Giordano, Hannafin, Brody, they don't have Travis Hamonic, unfortunately, with him sitting out, but you added Eric Gustafsson for a reason. The big story here is the goaltending, which, the reemergence of Cam Talbot, and there was the argument, Cam Talbot was insane in that first round. He was insane all season long. I think the issue with Cam Talbot is that you look back to the 16-17 season, and the Edmonton Oilers ran him into the goddamn ground to the point where he just could not recover. And then you factor in, like, oh yeah, even after that, you still had to play for the Edmonton Oilers. I think it took him 2 seasons to kind of get his sea legs back underneath him and get that momentum going. I do have faith in Cam Talbot as a goaltender. David Riddick, not the best season for Big Save Dave at this point, but still someone who you could rely upon if Cam Talbot happens to go down. But still, there's just... I'm not willing to go out on a limb and say I believe in the Calgary Flames. But the problem is, with that logic, they do still have the roster where they could do some damage. They go up against a very tough Dallas team in that first round, and we'll, again, talk about all these matchups. But, for Calgary, you at least get into the playoffs. I almost want to say it's a shit or get off the pot situation. Are you for real or not? We don't know. And again, for Winnipeg, just not your year, but some bright spots to look at, for what this team was still able to do despite a mass exodus on defense and, having the amount of injuries that you did to star players, especially once you got to the qualifying round.